evening, everyone.
Good evening. Hi, Charu.
Enjoying the vacation
Lovely,
from
Pramila.
work,
That's nice.
personal vacation from work.
That's lovely. Hi, Jayashri. Jayashri, are you here?
Oh, don't ask. It was
Okay. So,
because
Jayashri, it's 4:01.
yeah,
Okay. You want to begin?
yeah. How many participants do we have? We have 16. It's a good time
We
to
have,
start.
yeah, it's a good time to start. It's 4:01. We are live on YouTube. And yes, Jayashri.
All right. Okay. Good afternoon and very, very warm welcome once again to our community of practice platform. It's really heartening to see so many of you here this afternoon. And a little about Adhyayan before we get on to our today's session. Adhyayan Quality Education Services is a social enterprise working in the field of education. We do school reviews. We help schools with their improvement journeys. We help them with the quality assurance. And also we do a lot of professional development for teachers and leadership in schools. We do a lot of virtual trainings as well as physical in-person trainings as well. And so this community of platform actually started during the COVID time when schools went into lockdown and we were all plunged into the deep sea of online learning. And so the whole idea was to come together as educators and support one another in those difficult times, because we had many schools who were not at all acquainted with online teaching and learning, but whereas there were some which were already quite familiar. So the whole idea was to support and learn from one another. And thus today we have completed 4 years of community of practice, and we've had about, I think, close to 60 to 65 sessions. And we've had these sessions on all topics related to schools, pedagogy, curriculum, assessments, and so on. So today we have Heena Thapar with us. And to introduce our presenter, Heena Thapar, I hand it over to Viveki.
Thank you, Jayashri. That was really nice. So thank you, everyone. Welcome to Adyan. A quick brief about Heena. Heena is a dedicated educator, and she has a wealth of over 2 decades of experience. Lots to learn from her. She has been teaching primarily the lower primary students, and has an exposure in Cambridge as well as PYP teaching across schools in Indonesia, Japan, and India. So that's a lot of rich, diverse, experiences that she has, catering to children with different needs in different spaces. Her focus is primarily on creating a comfortable and enjoyable learning environment for her learners. I can vouch on that because I have worked very closely with Heena for close to 2.5 years, and it's been a joy working with her. She takes care of the fact that her learners, her students are always at ease, and she engages them constantly. She likes to foster a positive attitude towards learning, which can then significantly enhance the students' academic growth and their overall well-being. Hina generally believes that learning happens naturally when students are enjoying the process. Her classrooms are really lively, really colorful. She loves to use spaces well, and I can vouch on that because I've really entered her classroom and often been enamored by what she does. So I promise you this workshop is going to be really engaging. You can, always ask Hina questions. Please use the chat window freely. And I'm sure she will share a lot of her stories and experiences with us. She loves to align. She loves modern educational theories and emphasizes the importance of intrinsic motivation and student-centered approaches, a lot of which you will see in today's session. She aims to develop a genuine curiosity and passion for learning, which are essential for lifelong learning success. So welcome, Heena, to Adyan, and thank you for giving us your precious time. Uh, Through this session, we are going to be looking at how do we motivate young learners to write, steps for happy learning and writing, and how do we look at UDL in writing workshops. Yeah. So it's going to be a little bit of a sprinkle of UDL. Yeah. So thank you, Heena, and over to you.
Thank you, Viveki, and thank you so much, Adyan, for giving me this opportunity to be here and share my knowledge with everyone. And I hope that this is going to be a workshop where you can have some takeaways for your learners. Because as a teacher, being part of the lower primary for almost 20 years now, I know that sometimes it's a struggle for us as teachers, to encourage the little ones to write. So today my focus is going to be that how much are we supposed to push them, or are we supposed to not push them at all? So I'm going to begin now, and I hope it's going to be a fruitful 45 minutes to 50 minutes, and you're going to have some takeaways from here. I'm going to share my screen. Okay. Give me a minute. Okay, here. Okay, so welcome to Writers Workshop with a sprinkle of UDL. A quick introduction before we begin. I would like everyone to just introduce themselves, where they have to just write 2 words. One is their name, like how I've given an example here, Happy Heena. So just write your name, use an adjective before that, and just let me know who you are. I think we'll just give a minute for everyone to start putting their answers in the chat.
Sorry.
Come on, we have 24 participants. Let's have 20 at least.
Okay, I'm going to
Lovely.
repeat
Thank you,
again.
Valida.
You have, sorry, Viveki.
No, go on.
Yeah, because I can still see some people are just giving an adjective and writing. The adjective has to begin with the first letter of your name. Like wonderful Vahida, humorous Harsha. Okay, thank you. I can see a lot of answers here. And how we all are.
That's amazing.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I've just done this quick introduction to just give you that little, just to begin with a little sprinkle of UDL, where I want to share with everyone that we all use our different ways of defining and making ourselves understand to others. So that is what UDL is all about, where we know that everyone is different, but everyone has their own potential. Okay, that's amazing. Thank you. So let's go. So I would like to begin by this, that why is writing essential in the lower primary? Sometimes we feel that, like earlier it was also said that, oh, it's okay if the child doesn't write, it's fine. Still people believe in this, that it's okay if children don't write. But with this years of experience, I feel that if we don't begin writing in the lower primary, then it's going to hamper them in their later stages of life. And I'm not saying over here with my experience that we have to have them write paragraphs, long answers. Even if they begin by writing small words, that's absolutely fine. Okay, so why is writing essential in the lower primary? So, as I told you, learners struggle less in the overall literacy and communication throughout their years of learning. And working in a professional setting, of course, when they grow up, their communication, their writing skills have to be strong. And students who learn to write complete sentence at a young age are more likely to apply that knowledge and develop that skill into writing complete paragraphs as they age. Like I told you earlier also, when our learners are in grade 1 or grade 2, that time our emphasis is not for them to write the whole paragraphs. Our emphasis for them is to understand what is writing and how they can write. Usually, in the lower primary, learners, they love to just explore by drawing illustrations. Absolutely fine. Even if they're doing their illustrations and just giving you one word, that's absolutely fine. They are taking their first step for writing. Learners who learn to write complete sentence at a young age are more, okay, I think it's the same point. Okay, let's have a quick poll. Do you think writing should be explicit or implicit? So let me quickly explain the meaning of these two words. Explicit writing means that when you are saying that, okay, only the teacher has to do everything for the learners, and the learners are just following you. And implicit is where you just leave it to the learners and the learners just do everything on their own. Okay, implicit. Good job. Not sure and need guidance.
Karthik, have you put the poll?
Yes, it's here.
Okay.
Okay, so
Anya?
over here on the poll, currently what I can see is that maximum people have put their poll, it should be implicit. But then the question arises, implicit, okay, but how? How do you make it implicit till the time the learner doesn't have or has the knowledge of how to work on it? Especially for writing, we cannot leave the learners just in the open ground. Okay, today we are going to make a book, start writing your book. No, it cannot be like that. When we talk about writing for the learners, especially 6 to 7 and even 8-year-olds, I believe, and I have read a lot of books, we usually begin with explicit teaching and learning. Okay, I'm going to end the poll now so that I can go to my next slide. Okay, so I believe that explicit teaching is very important, especially when we are talking about the writer's workshop for our learners. Why to begin with explicit teaching? Because first we have to take each and every step with the learner to make them understand what is expected from them. Only then we can, you know, only then we can have this thing that, okay, what we are expecting from them. Or if we don't tell them what we have to do, how do we know? How do they know what they're supposed to do? So the first step for writing is always explaining the learners step by step what they are supposed to do, because that is their first attempt. They are such young children. We cannot just throw them in the pool and tell them, okay, start swimming. No, every time they will learn and then go and progress. Then they will progress on it and improve on it. So explicit teaching is very important. If you see this diagram over here that says the teacher is in the center, we do the introduction, I do, then we do, then it's you do, then review, and then warm up. This is very important when we are talking about a writer's workshop. Every step that we want our learners to do in the writer's workshop needs to be first explained to them that what is the expectation of the teacher, what are you supposed to do, how is your work going to improve. Otherwise we cannot show them their progress at every stage. Okay, so for my writer's workshop, I always follow 6+1 Traits of Writing by Ruth Cullum. And I learned, working in so many schools around the world, I learned this from one of my colleagues who used to follow Ruth Cullum, and it has been just an amazing journey working with her. And I'm thankful to her for that. And this is what we need to follow when every time we are doing a writer's workshop with them. So if I say to begin with, suppose I have a few examples, like currently I am teaching P1 and 2, a blended class at Mahindra International School. And we are working on writing books. So we worked on writing fiction books. Then we worked on writing non-fiction books. My children have written their own autobiography, but everything went step by step. For every book that they have written, we have done 2 books. One book, of course, that was explicit teaching, and the next one was implicit, where they had the liberty to do it in their own manner once they knew the flow, how they have to go about it. So these are the 6 steps, or the process that we can follow. Ideas, the first one is ideas, organization, voice, word choice, sentence fluency, conventions, and presentation. We will go step by step, and I will also explain to you how we use UDL for each and every step. Because UDL also has 3 parts, and it's quite a vast, concept that we can talk about, but that's why I've just written sprinkle of UDL because I cannot cover both the things in the same session. So let's go ahead with our first step. Our first step over here is in the writing process is generating ideas. So this is an example that you can see here from one of my learners, where they were told to generate ideas. What kind of book do you want to write about? What kind of a non-fiction book would you like to write about? So I gave them this hand, and it was up to them what they would like to, the different topics. So I made a hand myself first, and we discussed it in class, and then they got an idea of what kind of topics they could use for writing their books, and then they choose their own topics. And I gave them the option of putting 5 of their choice. And if you can see on this, there is number 1 and number 2. So which was their first, but there was their first book, and then they have their second book that they worked on. So even when we are talking about ideas, sometimes children just come up saying, Miss, I don't know. I don't get any idea. What should I do? We have children like that, right? Who always need our assistance at every step. So as a teacher, I think this is the time where they need our maximum support. And what I usually do is I tell the learners to look around the classroom, go and take a walk around, go outside the classroom, go and take a quick walk, do different class or outside, and come back. Maybe you get some ideas. And that has been really helpful, because we don't want them to just think out of the box without any context. They can also think out of the box being in that space. So sometimes if you see over here, this girl has taken examples like shapes, math, animals, colors, and flowers. These are most of the things that she could see around her. So that's absolutely fine. But these are all her ideas. I had already done my discussion before I gave them the hand, where we discussed it as a class, what they are supposed to do. So this was her idea. She looked around the classroom, and then she thought, okay, I can write on these. I said, okay, very good. Once the learners have generated their ideas, then the next step that we go ahead is by telling them, what do you think you would like to write? in your book. So this is an example that I'm sharing, that the fiction books that we have, the non-fiction books that we have done. So when I did the first book with them, they just told me, like, from their this hand over here, they chose one of their ideas that they wanted to work. Suppose this child wanted to work on shapes first, right? So when she wanted to work on shapes, we gave them books. We gave them physical books in the classroom on shapes. We gave them assigned books for them on epic to read on shapes. But of course, everything had to be according to their level. We cannot just, okay, if two children have chosen books on shapes, we cannot give the same books to all the children because everyone has their own level. So for this, we have to be very, very careful when we are assigning them. And there might be some children who might not be able to even be able to read. So how are you going to help them? So again, over here, the UDL comes here, that is known as engagement, where how are you going to engage the learner in reading if the child cannot read? Two options. First, you or maybe your teaching assistant, you sit with the child and you read the book for them if it's a physical book, or you give them a book that is full of pictures. And thankfully, Epic and Raz Kids, they have this option where, so these are the online platforms that we follow in our school. So they have this option where they have the books, they have the pages, everything is written, but they can also hear the books. Rather than reading it, they can hear it. So this is, then they collect the information accordingly. Over here, if you see, this child she has written everything from the book. She has chosen her headings of the pages by listening to the book, and she was listening to every page. But when she was listening and when the words are being highlighted on Epic, she could see that, okay, what are the words that I need to write to make my book, to make the different pages of the book. And of course, my teaching assistant and I are always there around the learners to help them to understand what is their next step, how are they going to go about it. So this is one of the very, very important parts of UDL, where we talk about engagement. How are you going to engage the child? Like I told you over here, if she doesn't know how to read, we as teachers always have to think of a plan B. What are we going to do if the child say, I don't know? If the child says, what am I going to do? I can't read. Because a lot of times we have these expat students, for them, English is a totally new language. So how do we help them? We also have to use, lot of times we have been using books from their languages also, because we have those books in our library, and then helping them to translate. So this is very, very important to involve the learners in whatever work they are doing. So, okay, organization. So over here with the book, they have organized the different pages that they're going to write about. If you see this image over here, so they have to write, once they write this, then they have to also write, what do you think? They quickly make the table of contents with that what is my first page, what am I going to write? We give them a page and they quickly write it down. The filling of the numbers is later. Then first we have, so you have ideas, then you have organization, that's the second step. Then the third step goes to voice, expressing. How are they going to express themselves? Now again, some learners, those who are very good in reading and they are good at writing, they quickly read it and they start writing their points about every page. But what about the learners who are unable to write complete sentences? They, of course, they want to just copy down straight from the book what is their understanding. So again, over here, we cannot push our learners to write if they are still not comfortable with it. So how are we going to involve them in making their book? So what we do is we tell them that, okay, you can see the pictures here. Suppose if this child, I'm going back to this page, if this child's one page says colors everywhere. She's read the book. She's read it with the teacher, but colors everywhere. She gives the title for that. And then what does she do? How is she going to express herself, or he going to express himself? So they draw different colors. They look around the classroom. What are the things that they see in the natural environment that has those colors? Like suppose, for example, this child looked around the natural environment because was not very good in writing down everything. So she looked around, she read the book, she saw the different colors in the book that were mentioned. She wrote the colors and she did with the coloring, she also made small, small coloring clouds over there. And then she started drawing the pictures that were natural, that she could see around her. Like suppose for color blue, she made water with it. Suppose for color yellow, she made sun with it. Over here, what we are doing is, it is a writer's workshop. The child is writing, but the child is at a beginner stage. So, but we cannot stop the child that, oh, no, you have to write the complete sentence. No, it's absolutely fine. The child is drawing, the child is illustrating, and the child is also even just writing one word, drawing the sun. And this is the initial stage. I'm sure they know the phonetic sounds and they can just write sun. That's absolutely fine. That is their way of making their book. This is what we have to encourage our learners, because mostly what we do is that, oh, this is our target for this unit. We have to make them write book, and we pressurize them that, oh, you just have to write one sentence. Why can't you do that? We should stop. Really, I'm saying we should just stop doing this. Our aim as a teacher is supposed to always be to encourage our learners and make them feel comfortable in their own space. Once they're comfortable, once they get the grasp of the process, you will see how well they are maturing at every step. If the first step that you take is totally guiding them, making them very comfortable, making them feel that, okay, whatever they are doing is absolutely fine. Whatever they are sharing with the teacher or with their peers is good. They will be so comfortable that the next step, you yourself will see that there is an advancement, there is a progress. And of course, feedback and feed forward should always be there for your learners. Every time they write something, they come and share with you, always give a feedback and a feed forward. I usually use sticky notes. I quickly write a sticky, talk to them about what they are writing, put a sticky on their page so that they remember that, okay, we have discussed this with Miss Heena, and this is my next stage where I need to progress. So this was for the learners who cannot write, but for the learners who can write, they need to express themselves by, so they are reading the books, but our aim is not for them to copy directly from the book. What we do is we help them to paraphrase. We help them that, okay, you have read this content of the book, now start writing it in your own words. Of course, initially, it is a challenge. It is a challenge for our learners to write it in their own words. But again, we are not focusing on correct formation of sentences. We are not, at the first stage, we are not focusing on that, or grammatically it should be fine. If the learner is also writing a small sentence, not a long one, just a small sentence. This is a flower. I see colors around. The color of the sun is yellow. Even this much is more than enough to paraphrase from what they have read from the book. It is absolutely fine. Again, I'm saying our aim always has to be to make them feel comfortable in whatever they are doing. Okay. So the third step, of course, voice. Let's go to the fourth step. The fourth step is the word choice. The word choice is the vocabulary or the kind of words the learner chooses. So for this, we have to be very, very mindful of how we are helping the learners. I usually have a word mat in my class. When the learners are taking out, making their paraphrasing, writing their notes from the book, I also tell them to note down some important words that will help them to make the sentences in their own books. And then later it will also help them to know the meaning of those words. So that is very, very important. So like I said, vocabulary and the kind of word the learner chooses. So of course, in the initial step, we cannot tell them, oh, you have to have the best of the words in your book. It has to be like really all the high frequency words or all the technical words needs to be used. No, simple words. So over here, if you see, there are two examples that I've put here. Both the learners have written about the life cycle of a flower. But if you see, they both are different, totally different. So this is in the same class, in the same room, but how they both are showing their own way of their understanding of the book that they have read. Of course, they both had different books to read, but you can make out the difference, right, for both the learners. So of course, this is an advanced learner who's written long sentences, extended sentences, and this is a learner who is just writing little, whatever is her understanding, and she's just written a little bit. That's absolutely fine. Because, again, I said, making them feel that they know it, they can do it, it's going to make wonders in your classroom. Our aim as teachers is to always encourage them and tell them that what they're doing is good. But you can also work on this. That is a feed forward, right? Always appreciating what they're doing is good, but they can also work a little more for a little better and a more, more refined work. And you know what? With my experience, I'm telling you, it helps. It really helps. And then those learners come to you on their own, saying that, okay, Miss Heena, I have done till here. What do you think should be my next step? And that's amazing. So if you see over here, this learner, when she had joined school, she was not even able to write her name correctly. Like I'm talking in August 2023. And today, by the end of the year, she's writing even 2 to 3 sentences. And I'm just amazed and I'm just happy with her work, because this shows her progress and her hard work. And we are not concentrating on spellings here, because I think as our schools, we focus a lot on, oh, the spellings have to be right. No, our focus is not spellings. Our focus is for our learners to enjoy the learning. Spellings they will learn gradually. Once they are aware of the sounds, the phonetics are clear to them, they will gradually get into the spellings. We don't need to worry about it. Okay, any questions till now? I think I'm going to stop. We have 3 more steps to go. I'll stop here. If there are any questions, please let me know. You can just type your questions in the chat if anyone has any questions. No questions? Should I go ahead?
Nobody wants to ask Heena something. How did she experience this? Or I think Heena's been very clear. Yeah, Heena's been super clear. Yeah, Hamsavini.
Myself, Hamsavini. I have a doubt. Like now, you have said that you should not just focus on the spellings, and you should not mostly like you have to not be stressed on the spellings while teaching for the children.
Yes.
I want one clarity regarding like when we are going to do the correction, how we have to do the correction. Like, should we just stress on the spellings also, because even the spellings also includes the marks for that. So how it works?
You know what? When we are focusing on spellings, we lose our emphasis on writing. Then our focus only goes on spelling. So when you're doing your corrections, on spellings, I think we should maybe just talk to the learner about the spellings, that, Maybe you can just listen to the sounds when you're writing the spellings. Just listen to the sound of the letters, rather than, correcting them or marking them on spellings. Marking on spellings can be a totally different criteria, but not during your writer's workshop.
Okay, but usually what we does while correcting, we'll just underline the spelling which the child has done the mistake.
That's
Uh,
absolutely fine. That's absolutely fine. I also do that. I just put a small, like a major spelling error, I also put a small line and just then help the learner that, okay, maybe we could have written it this way. But we usually don't mark them on the spellings.
okay, sometimes we
Because,
will write on top of the spelling which the child has written wrong. On top
yeah,
of that, we will underline and we will write the spelling, correct spelling.
that's absolutely fine. But do you even talk to your learner about it? Or you just write it in the book and it's done? And you feel that, okay, they are going to see it on their own. What do you
No,
do?
no, we will talk about it, ma'am. We will
Yeah,
tell the
then that's
child to.
absolutely fine. That's absolutely fine. It is a learning process. But what I'm trying to tell here is that I don't want, like, it's not I don't want, like, it will be nice if the teachers don't pressurize on the learners on the spellings, that the spellings have to be correct. Because then what
Okay,
happens, their brain starts working on, rather than producing ideas, they start working more on the spellings of each and every word. And the ideas just get, submerged somewhere where it cannot come out then.
okay. Thank
That
you,
is
ma'am.
what my aim is. Yeah, you're welcome.
Thank you.
I think Neeta had raised her hand.
Neeta, we can't hear you.
Neeta, you are on mute.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Hi, Neeta. It's lovely to see you. And I'm glad Neeta is asking a question to me. Neeta, I'm more than happy.
I'm not asking a question actually, Hamsavini. I'm actually adding to what you already told. Sorry, Heena, I'm adding to what
Yeah.
you already told Hamsavini.
Yeah.
Hamsavini, I feel that this whole idea of, first of all, the whole thing of corrections, like
Hmm.
that itself should be especially in elementary school, as far as you can manage, please, like stay away from using words like corrections.
Hmm.
We are not here to correct words. We are here to build uh, children's imagination, their creativity, and all. And then when we get hung up on things like spelling, their creativity gets inhibited. So the way to circumvent that, I agree with both of you that, eventually, yes, it's not like children should be spelling beautiful any way they want. But see the idea first, build on that idea. And then when the child produces their final draft, which is the seventh, it's called 6+1, the framework. The last part of your framework is presentation. At the time of presentation, then say, hey, do you want to look at, some of the words that you've used? Maybe I can see that you've spelled part of it correctly, but do you want to check whether all your spellings are correct? Do you want to check whether you've put full stops after? Because before we present our writing, we want it to look good. But in the creative process, not to get stuck on grammatical errors and it's on the language that they're using, on the vocabulary. Give inputs like what adjectives have you used? If they're using nice, nice, nice for everything, give them alternatives for that. Hey, I really like how you framed that sentence, but maybe you'd like to use a different word here. So when she's talking about word choice, one would focus on that rather than, just the minor details. Sorry, Hina, I'm just trying to bolster your point and make your case
Thank you.
stronger.
Thank you so much. Thank
Padma
you.
has also raised hands.
Padma Sekhar.
Yeah.
Hi, Padma.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. Happy to have you here.
Thank you very much. I was eager to attend your session.
Thank you,
I
Padma.
also wanted to just add some things that Ms. Heena said and Ms. Neeta said. So basically, Ms. Hemalata, we generally follow a writing process where the first thoughts come first. So it's just the expression of writing that we start off with, where we are not stopping the kids to look into their spellings and grammar and punctuation and stuff like that. So initially, it's the thought process that matters. once they finish with their first draft, there is always a process of editing and looking at reworking, to publish their work. So that is the time when the child has finished the first, first thought of writing. And when we look at, and talking to the child, I think like you were saying, talking about, some schools insist on correction. It depends on the board that you're teaching in, and they will say spelling error has to be marked minus and stuff like that. I know that Heena and I don't come from that kind of, curriculum, but when we are looking at corrections per se, the second draft is where you could give them the list of spellings that they would like to go and fix. So the writing process can be done at the later part after their creative juices are out. They finish with their first draft, and then they can correct the spellings. And, with all the spelling errors that they have made, you could suggest them that, you're going to publish your work. That's what good authors do. They look through their work. They do their, they publish it with errors, with minimum errors, and add punctuation and stuff like that. Sorry, I didn't want to hijack or anything, but just wanted to add on.
No, that's absolutely fine. So, Padma, I'm so glad I saw you earlier also. I saw your name and I was happy to see you. Thank you for joining in, Padma. Okay, so let's go to our next step. That is, oops, straight away it's gone to step 6. Step 5. So sentence fluency. Now over here, we are focusing on how the child frames the sentences. So again, like how already Neeta and Padma have already said, we are not focusing on grammatically correct sentences over here. We are not focusing on that the sentence has to be an extended sentence. It has to have and, because, but. No. A simple sentence, like I already told you earlier, even if they write the sun is yellow, it's good. It's good for them because they are just learning. Our focus is to help them learn and enjoy the process as they go ahead. If you see over here, some of the examples are over here. Children, this is all their own writing, their own understanding. Again, I've taken the same thing of 2 children, those who had, 2 of the learners, those who had written on flowers. But if you see, they both have their own perspective. They both have their own perspective of writing. It's not the same. So that is what we focus on. And when I've written over here, write different kind of sentences, extended sentences, this is basically where we are focusing on the learners who are proficient in writing, who are good at writing at their level. They can, then we can, this is the feed forward that we give to our learners, where we say, okay, since you can write this short sentence, I think you can also focus on some extended sentences. You can also focus on beginning your sentences in a different way. But yes, this is part of your explicit teaching and learning. This is not implicit. We have to first tell them what are the different kind of sentences that we want you to write. What are the extended sentences that we need you to work on? Only then we can expect them to do wonders. So, sorry, the light is gone. So only then we can expect something from our learners, but first we have to guide them. As we always believe that teachers are a guiding force for the learners. We should always be there to guide them. Before we expect something, please make your expectations very, very clear. Guide them how they are going to reach that expectation. So, and then I go to this step number 6, that is presentation. And sorry. Yeah. So sentence fluency. So of course we did this, and then we go to the step that is presentation, the appearance of the work. Then we talk about the appearance of the work. Then we are talking about the writings, the illustrations. And like then over here, like how Neeta was telling about that, okay, let's go through your book completely. You have to always sit with your learners, whether you are helping them to write a story, whether you're helping them to write a book, you're even beginning with writing short passage about something. You always have to sit with each and every learner individually, giving them the feedback as to what they're doing and giving them the feed forward where they can be better. So over here, if you see, there is this learner, I showed you how she had written about the life cycle. Here she did the illustrations. So when I had a session with her, where I was sitting one-on-one with her, that time I told her that, okay, your illustrations are beautiful. You've shown the whole process. But it would have been nice if you'd have also labeled each and every step over here, what's happening. Even if it is one word, it would have given a much better appearance to your book. So this is how we sit and we explain to them each and every step of their work, and feed forward, I feel, is very, very important. Illustrations are important, especially at this age, because some learners are, like I told you earlier also, are unable to express themselves in writing, which is absolutely fine. They draw what they understand, and then they just, even if they write one word, or initially when it's the beginning of the year, even if you scribe for them, that's absolutely fine. But at least you are writing. Their ideas, their thoughts are written, and nothing belongs to us. One more way of presentation can also be, when I talk about UDL, action and expression, one more way of presentation is also where the learners, this is especially for the learners who are not very fluent in writing, where we tell them that, okay, you have drawn the illustrations, you don't want to write. Like I had done this especially for my procedural writing, where, you know, we had made kimbaps in the classroom. The Korean parents had come to the class, we had made kimbaps, and then the learners had to do a procedural writing on that. When they did the procedural writing on that, the next step that they did was some of the learners wrote everything, they illustrated everything, but some of the learners, since they were new, they didn't know what to write. So they just drew each and every picture of the step of the process, and then we recorded everything for them on Toddle. So, and that was a way of their action and expression. Since they cannot write, we recorded everything on Toddle for them. But everything was their thought, the ideas were theirs, everything was their process. This is also a very important part. Like I understand maybe a lot of schools might not have Toddle or another online app. But then what we can do, the suggestion that I can give you is, there's maybe you can start scribing their work. They are speaking and you are writing. That is also absolutely fine. At least we are not stopping their creativity, their innovative ideas by telling them that, okay, you cannot write, you can't do this work. So at least we are still giving them the scope, giving them the scope to the learners to keep writing, to keep expressing themselves, to show their creativity. That is very, very important. And in this, the UDL, like I told you, action and expression can be in various ways for the learners when they're doing different tasks. It can be making videos, only doing audio recordings for them where they're just speaking. Of course, illustrations, something they want to write, and it can also be through something they want to create. We all have resources in our class. Maybe we give them a few resources where they just want to create something and show to us. That is also absolutely fine. Okay, now I'm open to more questions. Can you light on how do we work with students in larger classroom where the teacher has about 40 students? Okay, thank you for this question, Viveki. So where a teacher has about 40 students in the classroom, I think then we need to make small groups of learners in the classroom. Even in our classrooms, though our number is not that large, but we always have small stations for all the learners where like, suppose 5 learners are the ones where they can work independently. 5 learners are the one, those who need some help. And there are some learners who are totally dependent on the teacher. So of course, you will have to make those small groups in your classroom, and you will have to maybe have a prior assessment to see the learners, who will fall into which category, and then how we can help them on the basis of that. Okay. Okay.
Anybody else has any other questions?
There is one question somebody's asked over here. We do that in the pre-primary. Okay.
I'll clarify.
Yes.
You were talking about making groups or recording and things like that.
Yes.
I was replying to that.
Okay.
So
Okay. Okay.
when the children come back, they want to say what they saw in the garden, or they have made some stuff. So they tell the teacher, and the teacher writes it.
Yeah, absolutely. For pre-primary learners, you have to do that. Yeah. Okay, Padma has asked a question. Though it's a very wide question, Padma. I think I'll just have to be very crisp about it. So she's asked, what is the structure of UDL, and can you help us by how you use this framework during your writer's workshop? So UDL is Universal Design for Learning, and it basically has 3 principles that it works on. That is engagement, representation, and action and expression. So for my, I think from initially when I was starting, I spoke about it when it is about engagement. When I talk about engagement in my writer's workshop, how am I going to engage my learners? So I engage them in different ways. One is, of course, they're reading the books, the physical books that we have. The second one is books on epic, books on Raz Kids, and also books on epics and Raz Kids. I'm sure Padma and Neeta, we all know that they also have the audible thing there. They can just hear that for the children, those who can't read. So that is another way how we can get them engaged, and they can keep listening to what they want to write, whatever research or whatever content they want for their books, and they can just keep drawing according to that. And that is engagement. And representation is, of course, representation. I feel it's for me as a teacher, how I am going to represent the whole structure to my learners. And for that, explicit teaching is very, very essential. So representation, I feel, is basically more on explicit teaching, where I'm step by step, when I'm following each thing, I also read a book with them in every class. And suppose when I'm talking about ideas, when I'm talking about, okay, this is going to be your first step, what ideas do you have? We read a book, we focus on the ideas. Like I showed you the 5-hand thing. What are the different ideas you have? We read the next book on the same thing. So I can give you a very practical example that I did. We were working on the book on giraffes. And then when we worked on that book, the first thing was, of course, we came up with the ideas. Then what is the content of the book? Then when we read the book, 2-3 books, and children themselves came up with the content by saying that, oh, we can talk about the food, we can talk about the body of the giraffes. And I started making the book for them in my own way. I started writing my own book. And by that, they got an idea that how a book is created step by step. And okay. And then of course, action and representation, I just gave you an idea, but this is just a gist of it. You actually have to go really into the depth of it, how you need to work on it. And Padma, since you're here, please say my thanks to Mary, because she's the one, she's been my lead, like my role model for doing the writer's workshop. Okay, so Neeta has written something, lends itself very well to UDL as this. Yes. Thank you, Neeta. Padma, you were saying something. I think you were on mute.
Yeah. I said I absolutely got it when you were talking about, whom you picked up the writer's workshop from.
Yes.
She's one person.
All my skills are, I am so thankful to her. Okay, please go ahead if you have more questions. I think, Viveki,
we have 5 minutes more. Yeah, we have 5 minutes more for all Q&As. So anybody wants to ask anything about writing, Heena is the person for you, especially because it's a primary years, and it is probably, very tough for students to actually write because they're still working on their other language skills. So writing is something that does not probably come very easy to everyone. So I know as teachers, we all are kind of struggling a little bit, but anybody wants to say anything, ask anything, this is your space to do it. anybody who wants to ask Heena any question, anywhere where you feel you've kind of got stuck with your students and didn't know how to progress.
Heena, let me ask you a question.
Yes.
I mean, I'm sure you must be giving also a rubric or something for each of these traits, right? I think you should
Yes.
you should
Yes.
kind of throw a little light on that as well. Because just doing a
So,
writer's workshop and then telling kids to write a book is not
yes, of
the,
course.
yeah.
I did not put the rubric here because I thought that
Yeah, I
was
know
not
that.
the thing.
Yeah.
But yes, there is a rubric that I always create, and but for the rubric also needs to be discussed with the learners. And since I told you that I usually work with Ruth Cullum's book 6+1 Traits, so from that I usually pick up the points for my rubric, whatever I am focusing on. If I'm doing a story writing, the rubric structure is also based on the same thing. I have a book here, sorry. It is also based on the same 6 criteria, that is ideas, organization, word choice, voice, sentence fluency, presentation, and conventions. Everything is based on the same criteria. And when I talk about the rubrics, I don't mark their rubrics. I make the rubrics. I make the learners understand that this is what we are focusing on. You mark your rubric. So in our school, we focus on 2 things when we are talking about the rubrics. If you're doing good, they put a star. If they feel that they need to learn, they put a growing plant. So it is amazing how the learners on themselves understand that, okay, I don't think, I'm beginning my sentences with capital letter. They put a growing plant over there. Okay, I feel I put the full stops at the end. Okay, I had my own original idea. Okay. So it is amazing. And once they fill up their own rubric, then I sit with them, and like how we do in our curriculum, we have our own criteria where we have the students give their own feedback, and then the teacher gives her feedback and feed forward. We discuss it with them. So of course, rubrics are very, very essential part of it. Otherwise, like assessing themselves and the teacher assessing them is not possible. Thank you for that, Jayashree.
Yeah.
I don't have a question, but I have an observation. Maybe together we can find an answer to that. How do we get the teachers to read properly? Padma Islam.
Okay. So I think I need more clarification about that.
Other than the textbook.
No, could I just add on something before Heena says? Sure. I think to create curious readers, you have to be a curious reader as well. The teachers have to be readers as well. Until unless we are readers, we can't ask the children to read. So I think to have a little more workshops, where the teachers come together, having book clubs for the teachers, wherein, you put them into it, zigzag reading and stuff like that is what is going to encourage. Sometimes you have to forcefully bring in your principal's card or the coordinator's card and say that, hey, this is going to be the book club, and, all of them choose books, and then you put them together and they come back and then they do a presentation at the end of it. And I think probably slowly that will become a habit if it becomes a year-long, process of 3 terms and 3 books. And slowly they will also, and probably when they are expected to be doing that, they might also bring the kids into the picture and start following those in the classroom. I mean, that kind of, is helpful.
Yeah, and thank you for that, Padma. And also, like if in schools, this is initiated as a collaborative project, it really helps. Like I have worked in schools where as teachers, we were told that, okay, which book would you like to focus on for this year? And at the end of the year, we had this session where we used to meet our coordinator, and then we used to sit and write about our aha moments in the book. What was the learning? How are we going to implement it in a school? So this really helps. So I think if the school takes the initiative, it's really helpful for the teachers, because as women or as human beings, we always try to procrastinate things by saying, oh, once I go back home, I don't have time. I have this to do. I have that to do. In school, I'm very busy, just involved with the learners. So I think that is very, very important. And even nowadays, if you're part of any social media groups like LinkedIn or any thing on Insta, there are a lot of people, those who have now started doing book clubs. So of course, Padma's suggestion is very, very right. Book clubs are very important. And maybe you can also have book clubs in your own school, in your own organizations, where 3-4 teachers think that, okay, let us all focus on this book. And then, you know what, actually the best part about book clubs in the same organization is that you all share different perspectives of the same thing. And that really builds up on your knowledge. So of course, as teachers, when we say students are lifelong learners, it is for everyone. It's even for the teachers. We are lifelong learners. Only when we learn, we can teach. Yeah, this is what I feel.
I totally agree with you. The best way to learn is to teach.
Yes, yes. Absolutely.
Lovely. So thank you so much, Heena. It was a pleasure having you on our platform today. I hope you also enjoyed the process as much as we enjoyed having you and hearing you.
I hope teachers have been able to get some few points and they can be able to use it in their classrooms, and they're more than welcome to approach me. Like, I don't know, maybe I can share my email, or I have an Instagram page that is totally my professional page. And if any teacher approaches you, maybe Viveki, you can just share it. Your team can
you can share your Instagram handle on the chat if you wish to, Heena, so that if anybody would like to follow you and your work, they are happy to do.
Yes, I
and
will
yeah,
do that.
You can also follow Adyan on the Instagram handle. So please fill in the feedback form, and it'll be lovely to hear what your thoughts about the workshop are, what your takeaways have been. If you also wish to host, if you would like to be a part of Adyan and you would want to facilitate a COP session with us, do feel free to reach out to us, and we will definitely connect with you on this.
Okay, I have posted my Instagram page name on the chat if anybody wants to. Viveki, somebody is continuously saying they can't open the feedback thing.
Yeah, it's okay, Wahida. I will send it to you via email.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Karthik, could you just identify Wahida's email ID and send her the feedback form link?
I can't see the Insta page that you have shared, Heena.
I can't see it either.
Okay, let me just see.
I don't know if you have sent it to some private chat or everyone.
No, I think, oh, okay, sorry. By mistake, I clicked it on the Adyan thing. Okay. It's teacher.journey.pyp. I'll just retype it. Just give me 1 minute.
Yes, Heena. Yes, Neeta, I know it's really hard. But you know, and sometimes I just believe that people like, you know, you should handhold at least another 10 teachers, Neeta, and ensure that we have 10 more classrooms just like yours.
Would love that.
Yeah. So we'll have you host one more workshop for us, Neeta.
I'm so glad like Neeta is here and Padma is here. I'm really glad. Thank you so much. And it really makes me feel that okay.
Neeta is a very integral part of Adyan, Heena.
Yeah, I got to know a few years back where I saw a few of her posts, and then I understood that okay, she's now been part of Adyan.
True.
I keep following her.
Super. So on that note, thank you so much, and thank you everyone for being a part of our session today. We hope you've enjoyed the session. Yeah. Yes. Thank you. Have a great
Thank you, everyone. I hope you all have enjoyed this session and have a few takeaways. And please implement it. If you have any questions, please feel free to contact me on my Instagram handle. I'll be more than happy to answer your questions.
Thank you so much, Heena. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you, Viveki. Thank you, Jayashree. Thank you so much for giving me all your time. Bye-bye, everyone. Take care.
Everyone.
Thank you.
Happy teaching and happy learning.
Yeah.